So I was originally going to post this on Facebook, but Facebook won't let me post a video this long. So I have to post it to YouTube and then share it to Facebook. So it's been a little bit of a hectic situation around here the last almost 48 hours. Friday night, got home from work 4:30. It is now Sunday at 2:30. But anyway, Friday night I got home from work, and my brother was up at the farm when I got home. He had just got home from work, and he said that he was out. He had the four-wheeler out, and he was looking for the cattle that hadn't been seen for the day. And we just try to check on them. You know, if we don't see them every day, definitely on the second day, you want to check to make sure they're where they're supposed to be. Well, anyway, he hadn't seen them. Mom hadn't seen them. So he went to look for them 15-20 minutes before I got home. And he couldn't find them. He found one cow by herself out in the bottom. So he couldn't find them. So we got two four-wheelers. So I jumped into their four-wheeler and went looking. We split up, looking around. Couldn't find anything anywhere. And even the cow that was by herself, couldn't find her anymore either. At least I didn't see her, but he did see her again, and she went up into the woods. We couldn't really see any tracks. We did find a few tracks and some fresher manure, but that was all prior to or about the same time that the rain had come through on early on Friday morning. So, drove around some more on four-wheelers. Still couldn't find him. We stopped. We called. Nothing. There was no mooing, no nothing. So, we come back home, discussed it a little bit, jumped in the pickup truck, drove up on the county road that goes from our house to the farm to Blue River, and not really hoping we were going to, but we were just checking to see if they were out into like the neighbors' fields or the pastures or whatever. Drove down a couple lanes, back roads, pulled up in the one neighbor's, and they were home, and they're from out of town, but pull up there, and this is the first time we ever met them. Super great people, but there's a fly sitting over top of my camera. Get off there. But anyway, pull up there, and the lady, she's like, well, we haven't seen them, but you're more than welcome to drive out along the cornfield there out into the fields and check and see, because their fields that they rent out butt up to our pasture on the back side of the farm here. So we drove out along the cornfield there and come up over there's a little bit of a knoll in the field, and over the knoll we went, and there the cattle were standing out in the middle of or not out in the middle of it, but along the edge of the field, the hay field, next to the woods. So we looked into it a little bit, see what was going on here. Figured the best thing we could do is probably just call her mom from there and have her bring the four-wheeler up through the bottom to the line fence where these cattle were going to come down to, and we were just going to leave the truck there, chase the cattle down through the woods. So that's what we did. Chased them down through the woods. I got down to the bottom thinking maybe they would go through the fence wherever they had got in at, but they did not. So we had to cut the fence, chase them through. Meanwhile, we still hadn't seen the other cow that was by herself. She wasn't with them. So we left the cows where they were. We chased them a little ways down the bottom from where we cut the fence so they wouldn't go back up through. And we come home. Thought maybe if we let the cows up there for a little while, they would bring that cow back out to them. And we had to run back up, grab the pickup truck from the neighbors. So we ran home, grabbed the other truck, drove up, picked it up, and come back home, jumped back on the four-wheelers, ran back up to the cattle, because I'm like, well, now we got to run them into the barnyard. And we were just going to put them in the barnyard there. And so, yeah, the cattle were up in this valley up here. Now they have all this valley that goes up in here, it splits half and half. So they have that hillside that goes up there, it goes all the way up, this whole bottom, this hillside, there's a ridge on top, and then there's this, then the hillside wraps around and goes around that way. Well, they were up, there's like an apple, we call it apple orchard, but there's an opening. It used to be an old field years ago, but there's a bunch of apple trees. They like to hang around it up there. And it butts up to the neighbors where we found them. So anyway, we come home. We're like, well, we're going to put them in the barnyard for the night, for sure. So that way we can go up in the morning and check. So we run up. Now at this time, it's probably already 8 o'clock. Somewhere in that area. It's getting to be, you need your headlights on when you're driving on the road, but you can still see yet. So run them home, run them in the barnyard, and we count them. There's still that cow missing. So we got them locked up. One last run. We run back up through there looking for her. Can't find her. We call. There's no beller and no nothing. Her calf, how on the other hand, is in the barnyard with the rest of the cattle. So we're like, well, and we weren't even sure which cow was missing. We didn't dig into it too deep. But there was a calf that was bellering. We're like, well, calf would beller enough overnight that more than likely the cow would end up coming home, and more than likely in the morning she'll be standing by the barn waiting to get in with them. So woke up in the morning and there was no cow. Calf still bellering. So we get on the four-wheelers again, go look, try to find a cow. Up and down the valleys, up over the ridges, there's dug roads, there's log roads, there's make a road through whatever. Can't find her anywhere. It's like, well, we got to go home. We got to grab some fencing tools so we can go fix the fences. So we go out, we fix the fence where we cut. Then with the help of the neighbor that we met, they were walking the fence line too, and we found a couple of spots where it was bad and one spot where they had been through. So we fixed all the fences back up. And at this time it was it was after noon. It was probably 12:30, 1 o'clock. Come home. It's like, well, we were going to leave the cattle in the barnyard or down below here where we feed them in the wintertime. But I thought, well, if we turn the cows back out there, hopefully they'll find that cow. Maybe she'll come back. Hopefully she didn't just take off running looking for a calf and just plow through some fences or whatever. So we're like, well, let's just turn the cattle back out there. So we turned the cattle back out in the pasture. They kind of hung around a little bit over here in the bottom. Not too long. They hung around out in here for just a little bit. And meanwhile, we loaded up the lawnmowers and such. And I thought, well, before we go, I should say we were going to go mow lawn at the Waterstown Township Cemetery. And we did that, turned the cattle out, and then before we left, I thought, well, I'm going to go look real quick, see if that cow is with the cows. So ran back up there with the four-wheeler, and I couldn't find the cows anywhere. The 30 of them that there is, I couldn't find a trace of any of them. Drove up on that ridge where the apple orchard is at, and drove out the point towards me here, and didn't find, called, nothing, no cows. Kind of went back out. Well, then I heard a calf beller. I'm like, oh, that must be the calf. So the cow is probably somewhere nearby there. Some cow, a cow, the cows, whatever. I don't care. I need to figure this out. So I drove over towards the sound. Pretty soon, two calves come boiling out of the brush. Now, if you haven't walked into the woods lately, if you can see 10 feet in front of you, it's pretty amazing, because it's just covered in these honeysuckle and multiflora rose. It is absolutely horrendous to try to walk or see in the woods right now. So anyway, those doggone calves took off running down the road in front of me. I chased them all the way to the bottom. Well, I didn't chase them, but I couldn't get in front of them. Ran all the way to the bottom. I did cut them off when I got down in the bottom, and they stayed there. I ran home. We went up, mowed lawn, let them settle down. Come back. It was probably 4 o'clock. And we unloaded everything. Well, we better go check on the cattle. So went up, looking for the cattle. We got up to the bottom, kind of in the middle, and my brother, we split. I went up the valley, my brother went up the hillside, up to the apple trees. I went up the bottom. I got up there 3/4 of the way up, and there was a cow and 2 calves. And it was the 2 calves that had chased down the road, and it was the cow that had been missing the night before and the rest for that day. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is good, I guess, but there's no trace of any other animals, just those 3. I'm like, which means that calf is missing its mom now at this point. So anyway, I ran back down the valley, then up to the trees, up to where Dale was at, up the apple trees, and talked to him. He's like, well, I can't find the cows anywhere either. So we both went out the point of the hill here. We stopped a couple of times. We called. I mean, here, not a dang thing. So we drove back down the road to the bottom, and Dale's like, well, maybe I should check over alongside the cornfield here, the ditch between the base of the hill and the edge of the cornfield. The ditch runs through, and sometimes they like to lay in there. It's kind of hard to get over in there with the four-wheeler. I had Brett with me, so I didn't dare go over in there because it's kind of dangerous to have doing it by yourself, let alone having someone else in the four-wheel with you. So Dale went over in there, and sure enough, there the cattle were. So we decided that to chase the cows up, and then we'll have to go up and get those 3 that are up the valley farther. Well, so I kind of stayed at the bottom of the ridge road while he went over and got behind him with the four-wheeler. Well, then pretty soon I could hear calves and a cow bellering on the other side of the cornfield from us. Now, the cornfield splits the valley. There's a fence goes all around the cornfield, so the cows can't get in there, but you can get from one side of the cornfield to the other. The pasture, it just circles it. So anyway, we're like, oh, this is working out pretty good. So we chased them all, got together. We ran them home. We ran them back into the barnyard again and started doing a count. And numbers weren't adding up again. Now we're missing 2 cows and a calf. What in the world? So, I had originally made a video last night. This is kind of where we stopped, because it was like, well, we went and looked again and again, and we couldn't find that 2 cows and a calf. Like, well, they got to be out there. They just need to settle down. They'll probably come home in the morning. And it was like 7:30. You know, it was 7:30 before we got home, but it was probably 6. We come home. We're like, we'll just let them cool down, let them lay down overnight, and then we'll go back. You know, Sunday morning we'll go look for them. So, and that was where I kind of stopped the video. Well, anyway, shortly after I made the video and I was uploading it to YouTube, we got a message from the neighbors. Hey, your cattle are in the pasture, or in the field again. And, well, I got company coming home. No, I don't have company coming home. Well, anyway, they called me and said, or they left me a message and said that the cows, there's 3 cows in our field. So of course it was like 8:30. It was dark already at that point. So we loaded back up stuff, and they were nice enough that they chased them out of the field. They cut the fence, chased them out to us, and we went, and of course we didn't know they had chased them out. We went up to their house, and they're like, oh, we chased it down. We already chased the cattle back into the barnyard, because we had chased them back out. And we chased them back into the barnyard. We went and got them before I went up there. And now we had multiple ones missing. So we weren't totally sure what was going on. There was 3 cows and 4 calves missing. So we went from 1 cow missing to finding her, to having 2 cows and a calf missing, and then we went to having 4 calves and 3 cows missing. So we locked the cows we had back in the barnyard, and then we went out looking with spotlights and the lights in the 4-wheeler. And now it's already 10:30. We're out, and we found them at about 10:30 up in those doggone apple trees. They were laying up in there, and chased them home. Well, they walked through the gate at 11 o'clock last night. And last night at 11 o'clock, we officially had them all back home for the first time since, well, it was probably mid-afternoon, early afternoon hours of Friday. So, today they've just been in this alleyway right here that we have that goes up to the barn. We'll let them clean it up a little bit, and then I think here in a little bit we're going to chase them down, and we put feeders out. They're going to get some feed, and they're going to get a bale of hay there, and they're going to stay down here by the house for probably like a week. And then we're going to let them down here in this hay field too after a couple of days. So yeah, it's been a pretty crazy last 48 hours, but they're all home finally now. So, but anyway, that's been the hectic 48-hour journey here. So we will we'll talk to you guys later.